Hey there, scientists. I am Mr. Steier, and this is Mr. Steier's Classroom. Today, we are talking about cycles of matter, and you are going to be able to describe how matter cycles through an ecosystem and among the plants, animals, and microbes that live and die in the environment. As we kick things off, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, what is a cycle? What is a cycle? Yeah, think about things that you know about cycles, like the season cycle, day and night cycle. We have a lunar cycle. You may be thinking about recycling. And in a cyclical system, we know that things work in a circle. They go around. Well, when we're talking about cycles of matter, we're talking about how matter is moving around in an environment. And so right here in front of us, we can look at this bear, and we're going to ask ourselves the question, what is the relationship between the bear and the air around it? And what are the cycles of matter that are taking place here? So, what is the relationship between the bear and the air around it? And what cycle is taking place here? Well, the grizzly bear walking among the grasses in the meadow may look like he is alone, but he is not. Other animals such as rabbits, mice, and deer live here. Fungi and bacteria, as well as insects and earthworms, live in the soil. All of these organisms are connected by cycles of matter. These cycles also include the air and soil. All of the organisms in the meadow play a part in the carbon dioxide-oxygen cycle. Carbon dioxide and oxygen are gases found in the air. The carbon dioxide-oxygen cycle provides living things with the carbon and oxygen they need to survive. Organisms in the meadow are also connected by the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is a substance found in the air and in the soil. Plants take in nitrogen from the soil. Animals get the nitrogen they need by eating the plants or other animals. When plants and animals die, decomposers return the nitrogen in their bodies to the soil. Plant and animal wastes also contain nitrogen, which microbes return to the soil. So yes, we are talking a lot about the circle of life here. Cue the Lion King. And what we're saying is, once we go through that food web and move it into a food chain, move that food chain into a food web and see how all of the living things in the environment are connected, well, how does the work of the decomposer come back to the plants? Well, that is going to be in that nitrogen cycle. So we go back to our bear here, and we know that our bear is not the only organism in the meadow. There might be rabbits, deer, mice, insects, and there is definitely grasses that are right here in the meadow. So when plants make their own food through photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide from the air and give off oxygen as waste. They also use oxygen to break down and get energy from food. So the plants are still using some of that oxygen that they give off, but the plants give off that oxygen, that carbon dioxide oxygen cycle goes into the bear, and now the bear has the oxygen that it needs to breathe and survive. Carbon dioxide. The grizzly bear breathes in oxygen as it uses the oxygen to break down and get energy from food. The bear gives off carbon dioxide as waste. Plants use carbon dioxide to make food. So what the bear breathes in, the plants are giving off. What the bear breathes out, the plants breathe in. And we can have that consistent cycle of matter between carbon dioxide and oxygen that is found in this environment. So why, we're talking about cycles, why would this image, why would this diagram of the carbon dioxide oxygen cycle be in the shape of a circle? That is exactly right, because it continues to repeat as a circle. The circle just continues and continues and continues on. So what gas does this bear need to survive? It needs oxygen. And where is that bear getting the oxygen it needs to survive? From the air. And how does the bear use oxygen to survive? The bear uses oxygen to break down and get energy from food. So these plants that are on the bottom of our image, what gas do these plants need to make food? Yes, they need carbon dioxide. And where does the carbon dioxide come from? From the air. It comes from what this bear is breathing out. After the plant's taken the carbon dioxide they need, what gas do they release? After the plant's taken the carbon dioxide, what gas do they release? Oxygen. That is correct. So the first cycle we can see here is we can see the oxygen carbon dioxide cycle. The next cycle we're going to talk about is the nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen is a chemical that is found in the air and in soil. It is an essential part of the structure of all living things. So where in the environment is the nitrogen found? It is found in the air and in the soil. And how do animals and microbes interact with other organisms in the nitrogen cycle? Animals get nitrogen by eating plants. Microbes and bacteria release the nitrogen from dead animals back into the soil. Then the plants have the nutrients they need in order to affect that food chain, food web, and that cycle. So we can look at this cycle right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to drag each word to the correct blank to construct a meadow-nitrogen cycle. So if we started with nitrogen in the soil, what the nitrogen's going to go to, that is correct, it's going to go to the grass. So the nitrogen makes the plant grow. Then where's that nitrogen going to go from the grass? Well, we're looking at building a food chain right here to that field mouse. And then how is that nitrogen from the soil going to get from the field mouse? Where is it going to go to? It's going to go to the barn owl. And then lastly, we can see that we have all of these lines that are all connecting to what? They're all connecting to the microscopic decomposers. So we can see that in this nitrogen cycle, even if we only had nitrogen in the soil that went to the grass, when the grass will die off, it's going to be consumed by the microscopic decomposers that are going to get that nitrogen back into the soil. Humans' activities have a huge effect on the cycles of matter. So as you're working your way forward, be a critical thinker and think about how different activities done by human beings, such as the cutting down of forests, the burning of fossil fuels, how those things affect the level of carbon dioxide in the air. And think about, as a critical scientist, if the level of carbon dioxide in the air is changed, what does that mean for the carbon dioxide and oxygen cycle? What changes do we have to be aware of there? Plants use carbon dioxide, water, and light energy to produce their own food. In the process, they release oxygen. Animals cannot use carbon dioxide to make their own food. Instead, they eat other organisms to obtain the energy they need. Plants need oxygen. Plants need carbon dioxide. The bear needs oxygen. The bear needs carbon dioxide. The every living thing inside of any ecosystem, inside of any cycle, is going to need nitrogen in order to be able to have the nutrients needed for survival. So these cycles that we're working on, the carbon dioxide oxygen cycle and the nitrogen cycle, they are important cycles to help you to be able to describe how matter cycles through an ecosystem and among the plants, animals, and microbes that live and die in the environment. Thanks for being with me here today. I am Mr. Steier, and this is Mr. Steier's Classroom, and we will be here for the next one. Bye!